This was UFC Fight Night Edwards versus Brady, UFC Fight Night 225, UFC on ESPN Plus 113, whatever you want to call it. That was the event. It is now in the books. Okay. This took place at the O2 Arena in London, England. In your main event, here we go. Sean Brady defeats Leon Edwards via guillotine choke at 139 of the fourth round. This was mostly one-way traffic. And I have to say, I want to start with the winner, but we're going to get to the loser in this one because if you were watching, if you're just joining us, you may have missed this. But if you were watching before, I cannot believe the performance that Leon turned in. I find it to be bad to the point of almost indefensible. But we'll get to that in a second. Let's start with the winner. This is Sean Brady's breakout moment. You just watched it. You know, this was a guy who we had kind of seen early on as somebody to pay attention to, somebody who could do interesting things, certainly had a unique look, but that's not really all that relevant. It's the style of his game. He had a really good wrestling, really, and more importantly, much better. He has what they would call like something close to like mat, grappling, like mat wrestling versus just like dominant takedowns in that way. And I think you saw a lot of that evidence tonight. I think that's what was on display. But the point is that, against Michael Chiesa, there wasn't a lot of ground and pound. He kind of won on positional control, and he would be the first to admit that. And then against Muhammad, his fight just went quite poorly in that particular case. It was fits and starts. Okay, and he turns a corner and he beats Gilbert Burns, but Gilbert Burns was like 38, and what's it going to, it's quite valuable, but it doesn't necessarily prove like you're ready for a breakout as like a true title contender in that division. Well, that performance did. He handled Leon Edwards. Let's just say exactly what it was. He had a feel out round in the first round, and then he went to work on him. Sean Brady wore Leon Edwards out today like he worked him today like a summer job. That's what happened today. Sean Brady worked Leon Edwards like a summer job. First round was kind of close. Nothing else that happened afterwards was. Now, they weren't necessarily like 10-8 rounds in that particular sense, but Leon was totally controlled. He was dominated positionally, and Leon knows what he's doing on the ground. So he is now looking for escapes or reversals or anything he can do to just kind of get back to his feet, somehow reverse his fortunes. And every time he did, there was Sean Brady slamming the door in his face on every occasion. Sean Brady's top game, he grapples in such a way where you look like you are trapped under a sheet of fucking ice. Oh, it has to be hell to be underneath him. He doesn't make positional mistakes. His gripping all looks good. He knows when to use top pins, how to use Turks, how to use rides, how to go from rides to now positional advancement. What are the windows in which you have to do it, and what are you waiting for? And all of it is second nature. Doesn't necessarily have the most like, oh my God, overwhelming ground and pound where, he's like, it's like Joe Riggs against Kendall Grove or something in Hawaii. That's an old man reference, but if you've never seen that one, check that out. Joe Riggs fucking drove his face through the floor. I couldn't believe his head didn't pop like a pimple based on what Joe Riggs was doing to him. Okay, Sean Brady doesn't necessarily have that, but he was abusing him on the floor, and you could see the will being taken from him through the course of that fight. And we're going to talk about that third round because I honestly think that what really happened there was Brady took his confidence from him. And that was just desperation. I'm not going to say he necessarily wanted out, but I think he knew what he was in for at that point. And maybe that's just why he punted, because there is no other explanation that you could possibly offer for what is supposed to be an elite prize fighter to do something like that. I mean, just the worst, like terrible decision. But getting back to Sean Brady, that was a terrifying performance. I cannot overstate to you. You saw Leon recognize the windows to at least attempt getting up off of an underhook, trying to create back to chest asymmetry, all these things that you can see where trying to sit his hips out to one side, trying to sit up, are you trying to use the underhook? Because if you just underhook, it's not enough. You got to use the underhook and then sit up at the same time. Your head position has to be there. All these things have to be in conjunction. And every time he would sit into it, you could see Leon would be there for the underhook, and it didn't matter because Brady was already there a split second ahead of time and then able to drape just drape his weight over him. And that is a science, folks, because if you drape too far, you can get rolled. If you don't drape enough, they'll scoot their hips out. They can sit up. They can frame out. They can do all kinds of stuff. You have to kind of get just right in the way in which you sit in these positions. And he was dragged. And this is what I love. We were talking about, like, could he follow the Belal Muhammad game plan? To an extent, not off the same shot that you saw. I don't know if that was necessarily in play, although I think he did have one, that last one, which was the same side. But you know what? Actually, I think that last one was the same. Remember, we talked about it with Belal Muhammad. How was he able to get Leon down? Again, if you were watching the broadcast previously, I've already mentioned this, and I mentioned it on yesterday's MK, right ear to the right hip of Leon, because that right hand, what Belal's team told me that they had recognized was he just doesn't get it involved in the framing or the down blocking or the underhooking. If you can get to the opposite side of it, that means you can probably get your hands locked. If you get your hands locked, well, you can give him frequent flyer miles, which is exactly what Muhammad did. That last takedown that you saw from Sean Brady looked pretty similar to that, although not the same kind of explosive shot in that way. But this was the point. In round 2, he didn't do that. He gets behind him, puts the feet in, or I should say, breaks the knees, not like literally breaks them, but I mean like he has to bend them now, right? Because you see the insteps essentially of Sean Brady behind them, so it cracks him down, or breaks him down, I should say, because the crackdown is different. And then he hooks the far side one, uses that to roll Edwards over and then come up on top. And then once he's on top, holy smokes. I mean, you are in a coffin. Dude, fighting Sean Brady where you're on bottom half guard and you're trying to get up, it's like being buried alive. Like it's over for you. It's bad. He's ridiculously good there. He makes it look effortless. It is not effortless. It is all about having just the right position and knowing where all of the right places to be are, to both balance yourself as well as to pin them, as well as to then find opportunities for submissions. Because you can find guys who can kind of put their weight in control. You can find guys who have good top pins, but maybe they do the top pinning at the expense of, they're not really able to find the choke or the limb extension, right? But that's not Sean Brady. I want to point out he went for the Kimura, didn't get it, but that's a limb extension, or at least a limb manipulation choke, and that wasn't the one he went for in the end. The one he went for in the end was a choke. So you have a guy who's got, I would say, good takedowns, who has phenomenal grappling. In the second round, he used to take the back, but after that, what did he do? No, did he? Yes, the second round he went to take the back, much like Belal Muhammad did, but after that, he didn't do that. After that, he then went for top pins. And so that was just all Sean Brady. So to answer the question, did Sean Brady learn from Belal Muhammad? Yes. But eventually it all fed back into all of his strong suits: top pins, half guard, to an extent the back, rides, Turks, the whole 9 yards. And that's all on top. And then again, from there, ground and pound, from there, a limb manipulation submission, from there, a choking submission, all while maintaining top control. Dude, to do that against somebody as good, because he is good, and as experienced a fighter and grappler as Leon Edwards is, to make him look like he is stuck underneath there like a mouse caught in a glue trap. And while you're able to top pin and then add these submissions and then add ground and pound on top of it, and basically never lose position. Not really. There's a little bit of scrambling, but not really. Not for the most part. Is absurd. High level black belt. High level. And a game, I might add, suited for MMA. Top pins. I mean, to be good at top pinning, and I mean, look at what he was doing from half guard, draping his weight over the top on that fourth round, using his head to post off of the mat, and then using that to give himself the leeway to reach behind on that guillotine, not getting it at first, kind of screw driving it in, and then using the other hand off the assist while you're balancing off of your forehead and then your hips to drive in to create the pressure forward with a little bit of torque on the same side. Dude, these are difficult skills to integrate and to do it against quality opposition in that way. And he dominated Leon Edwards. He dominated him. He dominated him. There is a vast difference in grappling ability between the two on the ground. A vast difference. Not close. Not close at all. That looked to me like almost a blue or purple belt against a black belt. Like, I mean, I'm not saying it's an accurate representation of what they were, but like that's what like if you're ever in a gym and you're watching the two people of those respective levels roll, it looks like that. It looks like that. Wide disparity in ability. Amazing performance from Sean Brady. Took his time. Took a little bit of shots in the first round in terms of like, he was kind of lunging in a little bit, and Leon was tagging him with elbows, and then tagging him with a couple of, straights or crosses as he was doing it. But it wasn't too costly, and ultimately he was able to use that to find that level change to find an entry into a takedown and then begin to work from there. And then, of course, after that, it was, big bank, take little bank, 84s and candy paint. I mean, that was... That was a beating. That was a beating. Again, not like Habib, like where their faces, they're gonna have to get the end swell on it, but like just in terms of what one guy could do to the other, that was ridiculous. Now, I'm gonna come back to the stats here because you guys know I like to take a look at the stats. We gotta talk about Leon Edwards. First round, I thought he looked good. I thought he looked fine, for what it was. He had a good answer in the clinch. By the way, I didn't even mention this. Look at the variety of takedowns that Sean Brady had. He had from the back, making the knees bend from Edwards, right? Getting behind him and then breaking his posture back. That's one. The Sasai he hit in round one. That was another one. He hits double legs. That was another one. Like, he's got all these different little entries to find his way in. So Leon looked good in the first. He looked to be in good physical condition. And we had said this on Friday's MK, which was, okay, here we have a case of somebody who had a lot of excuses after his last loss. I'm sorry, he just did. There was an injury. It was 5 a.m. and fine. Like, I don't think it's a good idea to have these guys fight at 5 a.m. I don't think that's like a great thing. But at the same time, that's the only reason that you lost. You know what I mean? Like, could it be that Muhammad was better? Is that a lesson that we can draw? I don't think that was the lesson that Edwards was saying this week. He beats him 9 times out of 10. Okay, he won that one. We fought 10 more times. Or 9 more times, I should say. He'd win. Who believes that? I don't believe that. I mean, I'm not saying he wouldn't win one. I'm sure, or maybe several. But like, you're going to win the next 9? No, you're not. No, you're not. Muhammad's going to win a bunch of those too. Like, perhaps even the majority, perhaps even all of them, but maybe not. Like, he's going to win the majority. You understand my point? Like, very dismissive of the idea that like one of the big takeaways was that Belal was better. Well, what does he have to say now? I even said I got real sick of the excuses he was offering, and it kind of felt like it was one of those moments where it was Antonio Tarver looking at Roy Jones in the face of the rematch. Got any excuses tonight, Roy? Got any excuses tonight? And then he goes out there and he smokes Roy Jones Jr., which like nobody did at that time, but he did. I kind of felt like we were in a similar situation. You're in the headlining role. You have faced numerous grapplers, right? Again, Brady's different, but at the same time, you had faced Belal Muhammad. You had faced Colby Covington. You had faced Kamaru Usman. A bunch of these guys he had to face of a similar ilk. You couldn't say you didn't have at least a lot of time to prep for this particular style of opponent. He did. And he got dominated even worse. They corrected the time. Again, they gave him an opportunity to, get one back against a similar kind of opponent, and it went even worse than it did the last time. That round 3 decision, to me, is an all-time, I mean, I don't even know. I can't, okay, let's talk. Why the hell would he do that? Why would Leon Edwards in round 3 shoot on Sean Brady after getting dominated in the second round? Dominated positionally. At a bare minimum, dominated positionally. Like, and did I not say after watching round 2, I was like, there's a difference. But if you guys were watching the live stream, there's a difference between these two blokes. Like, there is a world of difference in their ability. Okay, fine. He doesn't want to do that. He shoots on Sean Brady, gets to stand for a second. Sean Brady off the front headlock, snaps him back down. Eventually it goes to the back and then rolls him over, and then I think was very quickly almost in mount at that point. That decision from Leon Edwards can only really have two explanations. One, he just makes, like, your judgment is bad, right? That's one interpretation. Like, you have incredibly bad judgment. That's one, because like there's no way to say that that's good or neutral. That was all time bad. Even if you survive the round, and he did survive the round, you're now giving this guy another round to like bag in the books if he needs it for, again, down the stretch. You're adding to his confidence. You're adding to your own fatigue. You're adding for him understanding how you're going to answer. By the way, like, as you roll and you're trying to find an underhook on all of these different escapes or these different moments where you're in the various parts of the sequences, as you're doing all of that, you're telling him what your defense looks like. You're letting him get a feel for it, which means the next time you go for that, it's going to get shut down even quicker. Okay, so you gave all of that to him. So one explanation can be just his judgment is poor beyond words. That's one interpretation. The other interpretation is that he already had his confidence taken from him, and, not exactly looking for a way out, but not exactly looking for a way in either, right? It's not like, it wasn't like quitting right there or something, but kind of knew which way the wind was going to blow on that evening and just decided to, facilitate it to an easier degree or something. It can only be one of those two. What else could there be to making such a calamitously bad decision? All-time bad for UFC main events. Seriously. That's Cyril Gane bad. And that's bad. That's like, what the fuck are we doing? That's how bad that is. That's how insanely indefensible that decision is at this moment in time. This is what I mean when I say, once someone loses the title, sometimes they get it back. Couture got it back. Shevchenko got it back. You can find situations. Izzy got it back briefly, right? You can find guys who get it back. But once that breaks, it's almost impossible to put it back together again. And even if you put it back together, it's hard to hold for much longer. Izzy got it back after one, then lost it right after that, right? That's what I'm talking about. Once that comes apart, you can't put it hardly back together very quickly. To the point where I'm wondering, like, knowing that, understanding that, and then electing to shoot on this fucking gorilla who has the grappling IQ of, I mean, I'm not saying he's on par grappling wise with Mikey Musumeci, but like, that's a very good grappler in Sean Brady. Sean Brady, granted, they had adjusted the rules about leg locks, but Sean Brady went to a tie, I believe, with Craig Jones. Right? That's who we're talking about here. And you shoot on this guy. And by the way, wasn't even a good shot, by the way. I mean, I get the whole idea, I'm going to surprise him from that far away. No, you're not. And then once you shoot, if it doesn't work, you have to have immediately to back to your feet to start scrambling again. You cannot sit there. You cannot stay there. And he stayed there. I mean, I don't know what's in Leon's heart. I don't know. I have no clue. I'm not a mind reader. I'm not Miss Cleo. It's hard to look at something like that and be like, and not at least ask the question, was he just laying down because he knew what was up that night? That you had to go up against this dude and it was just going to be real bad for you. I don't know. All I know is I don't know what motivated him. I cannot say. So I am forced to speculate. What I can say is, if you're trying to win, that's indefensible. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, indefensible. I cannot. I'm talking about it because I cannot believe he did that. I truly am I'm shocked. And I've seen him do that before against other guys, but it wasn't, Kamaru Usman might be tough to get out from underneath, but he's not going to do to you what Sean Brady's going to do. Sean Brady's going to make you carry his weight, and he's going to hunt for submissions or positional advancement the entire time. Kamaru's happy to have like control positions where he'll work on you, but there'll be a break in the action. You can break his grips, and you can kind of stand, or there's ways. He did get around it. But dude, that's like, to do that, try to against a guy like this, an all-time what the fuck are you doing decision. Especially because I'm going back before, what was Leon doing? He was intercepting him as he was trying to close distance, trying to close ranks. I mean, Jesus, hold on, let me text my wife here. Let's do this. Okay. Let's take a look at some of the stats, because I want to see these. This is going to be interesting. I'm hoping that everything has been, man, dude, he mauled this fucking guy. He mauled him. Take a look at this. Here, I'll show it to you. Take a look at this. Yeah, here we go. All right, let me do it like this. Yeah. Take a look at this, boys and girls. Let's go per round, shall we? First of all, just from an overview, Leon attempted, there's that one takedown. I can't fucking believe he did that. I can't fucking believe he did that. Oh my God. If I was his coach, obviously he just lost. You want to be nice to him, but like, when it's time to talk about what happened, you better be reading him the fucking riot act about that. Indefensible. So, okay. Sean Brady, 5 of 7 takedowns. That is a tremendous. Got the one sub attempt. I mean, it really was kind of more than that, but I don't know how Fight Metric counts it. Okay. First round, I thought Leon probably took that one. Fine. 20-19 total of significant strikes. Again, these are quantitative totals, not qualitative. And Brady was a little bit more active in the overall volume of stuff. He did get a takedown. He had about less than a minute control time, but okay, good, fine. But there was none of that. Look at round. Let me pull it back here. Look at round 2. Blanked him. 0 out of 0. Nothing. Look at this. Look at Leon Edwards' stat line in round 2. No knockdowns, no significant strikes, no total strikes, no takedowns, no sub attempts, no reversals, no control time. Dude, he gave him zeros across every statistical measurement that Fight Metric uses. Every single one. Blanked him. And he comes out in round 3 and shoots? How? How do you make that decision? How? Let's go back and look at the numbers. Look at that, dude. Absolute. Doesn't get more dominant than that, at least in terms of grappling. Control time, 457. 457. 457. Round 3, not much better. There's that one takedown attempt, which I just cannot believe he did. 3 significant strikes to 14. Not a torrential downpour of offense in terms of that. A lot of these 86 are just busy shots. Fine. 1 of 2 takedowns. He didn't need much more. And he gets 4 minutes plus of control time. Round 4, this is where he closed the show. Once again, at least he attempted 2 significant strikes here. But that stat line is almost a 0 all the way across. He just gets credit for attempting 2 different strikes, which, by the way, none of them landed. Meanwhile, Sean Brady, again, not a torrential downpour of strikes, but at least gets 5. He attempts 12 out of 18, or I should say lands 12 out of 18, gets 1 takedown, gets the submission, and then he has a minute of control time. It didn't go that much longer. What time did it end? It ended 1:39. So it ended 1:39. He gets 1:10. So there was basically 20 seconds, not even of round time that didn't include Sean Brady being on top, pinning him, basically. Domination in every way that jiu-jitsu can be, and wrestling, the combination can be dominant. I mean, I'm not sure what there even is to say about the targeting. I'll show it to you. I don't think there's really any big takeaway here. This is what they're targeting. Whether they landed or not is what they attempted on. I mean, dude, look at some of these. I mean, Again, pretty close first round, whatever. And then after that, Brady was like, yeah, I've had enough of this. I've had enough. I cannot get over this. 0 out of 0, 0. Nothing to measure here. 0 out of 0. 0 out of 0. Nothing to measure here. Again, that's going to be takedown percentage. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And then round 4, 0, 0 out of 2. Okay, still 0 out of 2, but at least he attempted 0, 0 out of 2, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Sean Brady worked Leon Edwards like a summer job tonight. That's what he did. Worked him over. Unbelievable. So now you have to ask yourself, what's going to be next? I don't know if they're going to give him a title shot. Dana White was in attendance. You guys will know from here. I can't say. Let's see if anyone's texting me about it. By the way, BC is texting me right now. That's hilarious. BC's calling the fights tonight on Amazon, for folks who don't know. He's calling the fights tonight. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I'm not in shock that Brady looked that good. I've been waiting for him to turn that corner. I feel pretty vindicated about that. I'm in shock about Leon. I have respect for him as a fighter. Obviously, he's a freaking welterweight champion. You're doing something right. But that performance tonight, man, I can't wait to see what people say about that. I haven't even had a chance to look, but I suspect it won't be too kind. So what should be next? Well, they're waiting on Shavkat. Belal has a fight with JDM, obviously, in May. UFC 315. I guess we're going to have to wait and see what happens there. Does JDM win? I doubt there'll be a rematch, depending on what happens there, but one never knows. Shavkat's supposed to have next. Sean's kind of waiting in the wings. If we look at the rankings, I'll show it to you now. If you look at the rankings, let's go down here. This is the ranking. So Leon sitting at 1, that's going to switch. Shavkat at 2, Kamaru at 3. I don't know why he's still sitting at 3. Jack at 4, Sean at 5. Sean's going to jump here. I don't know if he's going to leapfrog Shavkat. It might push Shavkat 1 and pushes him to 2, but he's going to be right behind it. So maybe you do Brady Kamaru if you have to. I don't know if you have to. I don't know if Brady waits around and then this decides I'm going to get a title shot later, so it's no big deal. I don't exactly know. I don't know how that's going to go, but that is an interesting thing to watch. As for Leon Edwards, so Leon sitting at 1. This might drop him out of the top 5. Joaquin Buckley is an interesting fight. Ian Gary's an interesting fight. Gilbert Burns is an interesting fight. You can do Colby. Oh, fuck that. I don't want to see that again. But, some of those are some interesting fights. He's still going to be in interesting fights. But I really, 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 really hope that after 2 performances in his home country, granted, not always under the best circumstances. Maybe he did have staff recently, blah, blah, blah. Maybe he didn't like performing at 5 a.m. I would not either. But he had 2 chances now. 2 chances against guys with similar styles. And it went from bad to worse. And I'm going to say it one more time. This was a guy claiming, yeah, I beat Belal 9 times out of 10. No, you don't. No, the fuck you don't. No, you don't. I'm not saying he couldn't beat him if they rematched, but 9 times out of 10, absolutely no shot in hell that is true. Okay.